Hello, welcome to the Motorsport review again. Yes, another week where we're recording twice. So hopefully you've listened already to our Canadian Grand Prix review. But third of the Triple Crown races, it deserves its own review, of course. We previewed it last week, and I'm delighted to welcome back to discuss the Le Mans 24 Hours race itself, Amber. Welcome, Amber. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me again.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And once again, it's just proof that if you put on threads that you're willing to do a podcast, you'll get roped into it every week and just keep having me in your messages going, come on, go and talk about it. So no, thank you. Thank you very much for coming back. And we're now the other side of the Le Mans 24 Hours. So we've obviously sat and watched it, admittedly, for slightly different lengths of time. So let's start with you. You said you were going to attempt to watch the whole 24 hours. Did you quite manage to watch the whole 24?
I didn't do the whole 24 hours, but I managed to get a good 20 hours of racing in. I watched the first 12 hours, then I had a little nap. But while I was napping, I had the race still playing, so maybe I listened to it while I was sleeping. Don't know. And then I came back after 3 hours of sleep to daylight in Le Mans, and I did watch it after that, but it was Father's Day. I had it playing in the background, so a little bit.
You did far better than I did. Yes, slightly different. I managed to watch an hour of it live. Yes, Saturday was my wedding anniversary. So if you're listening, I know she doesn't because it's motorsports, but if you're listening, happy anniversary to my wife, Carla. But we were in Manchester. We were out and about, and I got an hour. When we came back, I watched qualifying first for Canada and then watched about an hour. And then it went to a full course yellow. Admittedly, I thought, you know what? It's late enough now. It's like midnight, 1 a.m. That's when I'm going to get my sleep. And when I woke up, it was then Father's Day. I was then doing that, went out for lunch, had a lovely roast dinner. But it meant, unfortunately, I came back and the race had finished. I knew the results. So I got that 1 hour in. So, Amber, we're leaning on you heavily for this race review. Again, I cannot thank you enough for coming to discuss it. I would love to have given it more time. I absolutely would have. And I did go back. I recorded the end of the race, and I went back and watched the last 3 hours. So I have seen that on a delay. So yes.
So
I mean,
good.
overall, let's jump straight into it with the big question. Overall, Amber, you watched 20 hours of racing this weekend. Did you enjoy it? What did you think of that race?
Well, I have to say, it was quite boring. I know. I don't want to.
You meant to pick it up for the Triple Crown.
Yeah, but there wasn't a lot happening. We only had one safety car. The full course yellows were also quite short. So luckily no big crashes, because of course, yes, it was boring, but I didn't want to say, oh yeah, it was fun because we had a big crash. No, definitely not. But it was just, I don't know, no rain, no weird things. Okay, a couple of weird things happened, but no really big crashes too. We had, I think it was only 3 DNFs within the first 12 hours, which is also not a lot. Most of the times, first lap, chaos. There was a little chaos in the beginning, just 2 cars touching, crashing, a Peugeot crashing. But
yeah.
No, it was quite mundane.
Sometimes races are. And I have made that note that there's definitely a feeling that this is a new era of endurance racing and Le Mans racing. And I remember Formula One going through the same change about 15 years ago, where you used to watch, and until the last lap, you were on tenterhooks in Formula One, because at any moment, Mika Hakkinen, 2001, Spain, looking at you, last lap, the engine will blow, and a certain victory turns into a DNF. And when you're watching Le Mans, go back 5 years, you've got to watch it till the end. It wasn't quite 5 years. I'm thinking of the Toyota heartbreak, where they stopped just before the line, and that was Le Mans. That was, you're on tenterhooks because reliability is such a key factor of what they're doing, as we discussed last week.
Hmm.
But it feels like now we're entering a new era where reliability is so good that
Yeah.
they're just almost just driving around, just driving around, just being there at the end and hoping they're in that race, and then they're seeing if they're as quick as a Ferrari, basically.
Yeah, I kind of guessed it already, but yeah, the Ferraris were quick.
Yeah, they've done the three-peat. I know some people hate
Yeah.
that word, the three-peat, but yes, they went and won it a third time, but it wasn't the
Spoiler.
expected one. Yeah, just jump straight to the end. Let's do
Yeah.
it. We just did that on the Canadian Grand Prix review. Let's go straight to the end of the big crash.
Yeah.
The three-peat, and it wasn't the Ferrari that everyone expected. It was the satellite entry, but we got a victory for Robert Kubica. Again, Formula One fans will know exactly who that is.
Yes.
What a story that is for Yi Yiffy. I've forgotten the third driver, but you're going to fill that in now. Who was the third driver in that?
It was
No, not Guidi.
no Phil Hansen. It was Phil Hansen.
Phil Hansen, of course.
Yeah.
He's ex-McLaren.
Yeah.
So I knew I'd forget his name. Of all the names, I was like, he's the most memorable to me because he was a McLaren driver. What a numpty. I said we'd be leaning on you. But yes, satellite win for Ferrari. It was but it at times it looked tense. For the Penske Porsche pushed them all the way. And this was the Porsche that got disqualified from qualifying and had to race from the back.
Yeah,
So,
they went from last to second. Crazy. And that just has to show how good that Ferrari is. But the Porsche, what if they had started on pole or more towards the front at the halfway point? They were leading.
absolutely.
It's crazy.
I was trying to look at the times. I was trying to look how many seconds they were behind the Ferrari at the end. It wasn't many.
It was 20 or 40. I think it was 20 seconds.
20 sounds right. I had somewhere around 30 seconds, but 20.
Yeah, it's in between 20, 40, somewhere.
I mean, again, I remember watching like at the end of a Le Mans where, the leader's got 2 laps on everyone. So they go and sort out the formation flying finish. They gather the other Toyotas together and they all finish 3 across the line. Yeah, separated by many laps. But this wasn't that. This was pushing all the way to the end. So again, you could say that was what's exciting, that he's racing all the way from the bitter start for 24 hours.
Yeah, and the last hour, I still wasn't sure if they were going to win. Unfortunately, the Porsche had some problems at the end, but they were still getting close to the Ferrari, the 83 Ferrari.
Yeah, and again, you just never know. You're just watching, just thinking, when we saw earlier in the race, Pierre Guidi and the other Ferrari spin on the pit entry, potentially costing them the win, and you're thinking that could happen at any point. And I remember they pitted, as I say, I watched the end of the race, they pitted him and they said he's got enough time, he can put tyres on, and they said that's a big risk when we saw another car come out and lose the tyre and have to do a whole lap. Bear in mind, it's like 3.5 minutes to get round. That's at full tilt. So the risk versus the reward.
Yeah, and even Kubica in 2021, he lost the LMP2 win in the last lap because the car broke down together with Yifei. So he knows what it feels like to lose in the end stages of the race.
I didn't know that's redemption.
Yeah,
I love that story even more now.
Yeah, and now it's even better because it's an overall win instead of a class win.
Absolutely, yeah. Whilst we're talking classes, we spoke about this a little bit before to give us a bit of a highlight, but there was a real focus. This was one of the downsides I had to watching it on TV. Now, admittedly, as not an endurance top fan, I've described that really badly. As someone that doesn't follow endurance racing very closely and watches the occasional race, I typically will get drawn in by the quickest cars, the LMP ones, or the hypercars as they are here. And so when I say that, a lot of the focus was on hypercars, you'd think, that's good. Well, there's 3 classes of races. There's 3 winners across the 24 hours. We didn't see as much of the LMP2 and the LMGT3s as I was expecting. It was the only downside that I had to this weekend.
Yes, unfortunately, that happens a lot. They only show the cars, the LMP2s and the LMGT3s when something's really happening, when the hypercars get stuck behind them in traffic, or when they have a good overtake, but also when it goes wrong, when there's crashes or someone goes off. Uh, and yes, that's one of the. I think they do deserve more time, more airtime. Um, one of the fun thing is lots of cars have the cameras on board and they live stream them on YouTube, so you can see inside the car and follow them through the live stream. But unfortunately, yes, they weren't on TV a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely screaming out for picture in picture, which Formula One has finally got to when we're watching one battle and thinking, but they're closer, they're going for it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I didn't know about this onboard. I'm going to get to like how we watched the race in a second, but I think it was. I'm trying to think of the photographer's name, but he said, by the way, if you're trying to watch Le Mans, here's some onboards. And I mean, that's crazy. So these teams have got onboard footage. You can go on YouTube and just watch 24 hours
Yes.
on board, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Imagine Formula One doing that.
It would be so cool. Was it Jamie Price?
That was do you know, I thought Jamie Price, but I didn't want to say the name and then get it wrong and it'd be someone else.
Yeah, that would
Jamie
be...
Price it was.
Yeah. If I think of the same name, there's a big chance it was him. He's also very active, so
Yeah, he's brilliant at some of his shots, obviously, and what he does, and gives you an insight into what he's doing and how he does his shooting is very good. So, yeah, a small shout out for him. He gets it because he put the links out there and let people know about it. He gets a shout out. So yeah, he's doing a very good job. But yes, the onboard footage if you want to go and see it. And I learned very quickly that you didn't want to see your car. Like I'm a McLaren fan, watching, hoping to see them in LMGT, and then I was like, oh, there's a McLaren. Yes, no, that means we've stopped.
They're off. They're off the track.
So you don't want to see your car.
I had that with the BMWs.
Yeah, I was going to say so that 1 hour that I watched in the middle of the night, I must have picked a very exciting 1 hour because the Ferraris were getting penalties every 5 seconds. Yeah. The commentators did their very best to curse the BMW because they said exactly what you did. Oh, look how few cars have gone out of the Le Mans 24 hours. Reliability has been so good this year. And then the next thing you see is a BMW in the gravel trap.
Yeah, Kelvin van der Linde. I was about to go to sleep that hour, and then I heard there's a car in the gravel, and I was like, oh no, I have to wake up, stay awake again because something's happening. And then there was a couple of things happening again and again, so I just stayed up, laying in bed, watching.
I was going to say it's once a year, but at the end we're going to plug that there's the Nürburgring 24 is coming up, so it's a couple of times a week at this point.
Yeah, and after that too. Oops.
So it's a very busy time to be a Le Mans, a 24-hour endurance racing fan. And we love it, don't we? We absolutely love it. The more racing, the better. I love that you went to sleep with it on as well, so it like affected your dreams and just listening. You're like, I'm sure I heard that in my sleep.
I was in the car with in my dream.
So yeah, let's talk more than so we haven't really discussed LMP2, and again, this isn't something I know of because I didn't follow it closely and they didn't show it, but I thought the livery of that car was a bit strange when I saw it at the finish. I was like, it's got very striking green livery with some bare carbon front. And then they mentioned it at the end and said it tells a story because it's had a new front end put on the car. It's won the race. I mean, that's Le Mans right there, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. It's also fun because last year the winning car was second, so they got their revenge. Normally in the lemon and lime, but now in the lime and carbon duct tape color.
I absolutely love me a dirtied Le Mans car.
Yeah.
When they win the Le Mans, they should be kept as that, and normally they do. They don't wash them; they leave them as that. my ideal. Like when you see a story on a car like that. And again, I hope they keep that. I hope they never change the front end on that car and they leave it somewhere in a museum with that carbon front bumper on it.
Yes, yes, and it was crazy because the VDS Panis car, they were leading for quite a long time, but they in the end they became second. So even with a whole different front end of the car, the Inter Europol managed to win.
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I was trying to remember who drove that. It was Nick Yellowly, Tom Dillman.
Yeah,
what the third name?
Yeah, it's someone from Poland, and sorry if I pronounce his name incorrectly, but it's Schmikowski.
That was perfect.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, huge congratulations to them. I mean, I wanted the IDEC car because of Jamie Chadwick to do well, but talk to me a little bit. We mentioned Iron Dames last week. Talk to me a little bit about their race. They didn't win LMGT3, but how did their race go? Did they do well?
They did do well until their DNF. That was well, the Iron Dames didn't DNF. They got back out, but they were turned. I'm sorry. It's been 24 hours and my brain's still fried. So I think they got 16th in class. Yes, I did write it down. Lila Wadu, the other woman, got 11th in class, but the Iron Dames got 16th, which unfortunately they could have had a better race, but with all the things going on, they have been turned. Of course, the driver, Michelle, with a broken foot. I think this was just a matter of finishing for them.
Yeah.
Because they've had so many struggles over the past week.
I think that's one of the best things about endurance racing, that getting to the finish is a considerable achievement in itself, and there's definitely that feeling around of like camaraderie that between everyone, that like we finished, and they can pretty much, unless the car stops with like an engine block hanging out the bottom of it, they will drag the car back to the garage. They will work for the next hour to put that car back together, and then it'll be back out again. And when we covered the Daytona 24 at the start of the year, that was what I loved most. Like the car would go back behind the wall, as they call it there.
Yeah.
Dragged through like a paddock full of fans that are just standing around trying to watch the race, and get rebuilt and then put back on the track. And it's like 30 laps back, but it's like, I don't care. We're here. What are we going to do? Just go to sleep? No, get us back out there. I don't care. We're failing.
Yeah, I was watching the race with other people online. We live streamed for 24 hours. And some of them, it was their first endurance race, first 24-hour race. And they were like, but the car's gone off. It got with the crane out of the gravel. How are they allowed to just race again? Because in F1, you're done. But that's not at Le Mans, baby.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
Isn't there,
run it back.
It might be something else I'm getting confused with. Is there a time towards the end of the race where if you get recovered, it's a no, you don't get back to the pits, or am I making that up?
Ooh, that's a
Fine
good
to tell
one.
me I'm making it up.
No, there is something with getting out, but I'm not sure what the rule is exactly. The only thing is, if the car has to be recovered and brought back to the pits, then it can't race anymore. If they can make it to the pits themselves with the driver just driving to the pits, yes, they can work on the car and get out. But I'm not sure if there is a rule. I might have to look into the rule book, because sometimes I'm that kind of nerd that does that.
I'm probably thinking of something entirely different. Like I was going to say Le Mans, but as in the race in America, Le Mans. Do you know? You know about this?
Yeah, Lemons. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, or something else instead. But yeah, it's as you say, it's a good rule that they've got to get the car back. And as you say, the BMW stopped in the gravel trap. And then you can just see the desperation. They're sort of restarting, doing whatever they can. You're thinking, oh, surely not. It's not going to happen from here. And then the next thing, it fires up, and it goes, and you just everything. Just what you just want to applaud them and go, oh my god, yes, brilliant. You get to stay in the race, and what a moment! Moment for them.
And with the other BMW, when it hit a rabbit, yes, that's also Le Mans. We've had it wasn't a good weekend for the wildlife at racetracks. R.I.P. But but the BMW hit a rabbit and had damage. They got the car back out, but unfortunately, it had to be retired. And yeah, that's just they try everything. Unfortunately, in this case, it still results in DNF. But the mechanics work so hard, even at nighttime. You see them in the garages trying to have a little sleep. Sometimes their colleagues are messing with them. There's, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a little clip of, I think it was a Ferrari mechanic spraying another one with the window cleaner on his helmet, on the visor. Yeah, they just try to make the best of it.
Yeah, I love the little story, and the same with the commentators as well. Like in the middle of the night when not a lot's happening, they're on the same lack of sleep that some of the team members are on, and they're like, right, what should we talk about? Cakes
or something else? No,
I wasn't gonna mention the other thing, but yeah.
Yeah, and the English commentators were quite normal. I heard some of the Spanish clips. They were going insane. Of course, they had the Le Mans little clip, but I think they tried to make another song this year. Yeah, it's so funny. I don't even speak Spanish, but I had to laugh about that.
Whilst talking of commentators, I want to give a shout out to Chris Stevens, who was on TNT Sports this weekend covering it, because I used to know, me and Chris go way back. We used to race each other at the sim center I worked at, and he's doing fantastically. So well done, Chris, for getting out there and getting to Le Mans. What a huge achievement. So it's really nice, these sort of stories and these people that are just getting out there and making a name for themselves. And it leads us nicely onto how we watched the race. So last year it was all 24 hours was available on TV on Eurosports, I think it was.
Yeah.
When I set up this podcast last year, I thought that's why I'm doing it, because it'd be good to highlight that things like Le Mans are on TV. Got to Daytona, that was on YouTube, all 24 hours. I thought, I'm doing the right thing. This is brilliant. And then I suddenly went, hang on a minute. Le Mans is going to be behind a paywall. And sure enough, if you wanted to watch the whole 24 hours, you do have to stump out yet again for TNT Sports. However, I do want to give a shout out to them for putting a good portion of the race. As I say, I watched some of that, but they put the first 3 hours, a 7-hour window in the middle of the night when no one's watching Quest anyway, so that's the channel it was on, and they put the last 3 hours, which I recorded as well. So it was on TV. There's a significant amount, 13 hours. So you got the majority of the race, but it's on free TV, and that's brilliant. So I got to ask you as well. You're in a different country in the Netherlands. You're in the Netherlands, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I knew you were Dutch, but I didn't know if you were actually there.
No, I'm still here.
So you watched the whole 24 hours. Was it because you paid for a subscription, or was it free to air?
Yes, I do have the annual pass to the WEC TV app. So I watch all my races through the World Endurance Championship app themselves. It was available on Ziggo, but we don't have Ziggo in my household. And it was on Eurosport with lots and lots of ads. So that's always a little sad when there's lots of advertisements. For me, I watched it with a lot of different people. We just live streamed, one screen, and we all watched it through that screen. And on my iPad, I just had another onboard playing and a telemetry. So lots of girls who also weren't able to watch the streams on their TVs through the local networks were able to watch it through us.
They were sat next to you on the sofa, I'm sure,
Yeah,
watching it at
we
the
had a
time. So
watch
it was all
party.
fine.
We had a watch party.
I mean, you just have, it's enjoyed best with other people. Anyway, you don't want to be like, did you watch the Le Mans at the weekend? No, I didn't. Like, you've paid to watch. You've got the pass. I don't think there should be anything wrong with that at all.
And
With
for
saying,
lots,
look, I want to introduce these people to world endurance.
lots of people, they don't know anything about endurance racing, about the World Endurance Championship. If you have to pay for that race, it's a barrier. So now a lot of in our group, lots of girls are like, oh, this is kind of fun. I want to see more of it.
Absolutely.
So it's a gateway into their endurance era.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head with that. That was what I wanted to come round to, and why I've done this podcast, to say, look, I paid for Sky F1. That's what we pay for. The chance of turning to my wife and going, can we pay another £32 so every now and again I can watch a NASCAR race or endurance or whatever? It's just not going to fly. I'm going to have to give up Formula One, and as I say, Formula One fans pay enough as it is. So it's nice when you find something that is free to watch, when you find something that is streaming on YouTube, and when you find a series that wants to actively grow and be seen, because that's ultimately what's going to improve the series. Then that's what we want and what we need as fans.
Yeah, and talking about growing, this year there was a record-breaking 332,000 people at Le Mans at the track. So they
Phenomenal.
are growing, yes.
I mean, and that's just people going to the track. I'm sure the viewing figures, when they come out, they'll have grown as well. And I think that all reflective, again, what we discussed last week, with manufacturers swarming to endurance racing in their droves. 2027, we've got Ford and McLaren, two powerhouses of motorsport, joining the series.
Next year we have Genesis.
I was thinking Cadillac. I was like, it's not Cadillac. I can remember them. They're on Gran Turismo. Genesis. So next year, Genesis as well. Currently an unknown brand, but as soon as they start racing in endurance racing and getting their brand out there, suddenly people are going to know who they are. Again, I knew only through Gran Turismo, but now people know through racing, and it's going to be huge for them, and it's huge for the series. So it's great.
And with Genesis, they are there to make an impression. They have Andre Lotra, for big name. They are partnering with IDEC this year in the European Le Mans series. So in the LMP2, they already are trying to get their drivers together, preparing them in the LMP2 for the hypercar. The presentation of their, well, it's not the end result of the car, but the presentation of their car, it was huge. Huge dinner. They had little stuffed animals made with Genesis logos and things. They are not there to mess around with.
No, and there's older people like me. I think I'm a little bit older than you, Amber. And what was that reaction? What was that reaction? Only 15, 20 years, I reckon. But as older fans like me thinking, Genesis, what's Phil Collins doing at Le Mans? But yes, they did put on the. It's a big thing when you enter a series like World Endurance Championship, and you're going to put together a race car. As you say, you start preparing, you start the big dinners, you start to get people interested in what you're doing and making that name for yourself before you even arrive. So it's huge. And McLaren were there with their car in a box and unleashed it and said, this is what it is. Zach Brown himself, he wasn't in Canada. He was at Le Mans with United Autosports and McLaren joining forces, unveiling this McLaren car that isn't going to race for another 2 years. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, we always say, the golden era in motorsport, or well, I think for endurance it's the platinum era of endurance racing now. So many new manufacturers, but also manufacturers coming back, people watching, it's just getting so big that it's crazy. As someone who's, well, of course I'm young, but I have been watching it quite some time. It's changed so much over the last 5-10 years even, that it's a good thing also with the hypercar regulations getting extended. I think it was to 32.
That's it.
Numbers are not my best thing. So that's also, what is it, 10, 8 more years, 7 more years, crazy.
7 more years, yes.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's what the manufacturers want. You know, Formula One is about to go through a big change, and they're going to talk about like all the costs of it, and especially if you're a team like McLaren who are at the top of your game, and then suddenly next year you're suddenly fifth, and you go, why the hell do we change the regulations just as we're at the top? Or you know, lo and behold, they go further down. You're going to think, why change it? And that's what World Endurance is saying. Look, we're not going to change anything. Come and get interested in Le Mans. Come and get interested in World Endurance Championship. We're keeping things the same. We've got a good thing. Manufacturers are enjoying it. Fans are enjoying it. How simple is that?
Yeah, and it would be such a big investment if you know that you can only race 2 seasons with one car. But now, we have 8 more seasons.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. You know, as I say, I don't think Ford and McLaren are going to be the last manufacturers we'll see join, and I don't think they'll be the only ones joining. You know, we're talking hypercar, but I think LMP2 as well will expand, and I think LMGT3 as well.
Yeah.
And you've got to talk about Max Verstappen a little bit.
Ooh,
because
yes.
I think he's definitely looking interested in GT3, and where else to be a GT3 driver than Le Mans?
Le Mans. He told the Dutch journalist from Viaplay that he does want to go to Le Mans, and everyone's talking about the GT3s because he has his own team now. They will be doing the 24 hours of Spa in 2 weeks, where I will be at the track, and one of the drivers is to be announced, and unfortunately, no, Max didn't get a penalty point. So, but lots of people were saying, oh, the last drivers to be announced. What if Max gets his penalty point, can't race in Austria, and he will do the 24 hours in Spa? Of course, that's not going to happen. The driver will probably be announced next week. But Max said, if I'm racing Le Mans, I want to go for the overall win. So I think he first will go to the hypercars.
Well, that's exciting. That's really exciting, isn't it? Potentially, yeah. Because which driver doesn't want to do it? I again, one of the things I love about Le Mans is when you look up and down the grid and you see like, oh, Pascal, well, I know him from Formula E. You know, drivers from all sorts of different series become available, and they go and race at Le Mans, because who doesn't want to do that? Including a certain Fernando Alonso, when he said, you know what, stuff in Formula 1, I'm going to go race over here. And Hulkenberg as well.
Yeah, and it has shown F1 drivers are doing good in Le Mans with Hulkenberg. Now, Giovinazzi already won 2 years ago, last year. I always forget which of the cars he's driving. 51? Question mark?
Or 50.
He's driving the 51. Yes, he is. Why did they have to choose numbers that are so close to 50, 51? I don't know anymore.
Certainly one of those two. So he's in the 51. Yeah. I mean, that's just it. And Giovinazzi, you look at like his Formula 1 career, didn't really land and hit off. Had a decent run at GP2 and Formula 2 when he was there, and then suddenly goes over and he's a Le Mans winner. Your name is written in history forever as a result. So yeah, it's a phenomenal series, and as I say, drivers are going to flock to it. I think with manufacturers going, I think drivers will do the same.
Definitely, and for a lot of drivers, of course, reaching Formula 1 is their goal. But as of now, I've already heard lots of drivers currently in GT3 or LMP3 saying, no, it's not my goal to reach Formula 1. I want to get into the hypercar. I want to win Le Mans. Wow.
Yeah. It's that big. You know, there's a reason it's on the Triple Crown.
Yes.
It's possible. I mean, I said the Indy 500 is probably the hardest one to win. I think possibly, but I mean, then none of them are easy. That's for certain. So yeah, it's nice that the three of them are very different challenges, and this one especially, you have to race with probably two other drivers, and you have to work best as a team to make it happen for yourselves. And they're talking about that working together, gelling, and as you say, Andre Lotterer and the rest of the Genesis squad sort of coming together already to see how they function as a team, so they're ready to do so next year, hit the ground running.
Yeah, and I don't know what I want to say. I forgot what I was going to say. My brain's going all the places.
Well, you've been watching a lot of racing, so I'm not surprised.
Yes.
You're frazzled.
Yeah, my brain's fried. Oh yeah, one of the fun thing is the LMP2 also has Pro-Am with pro drivers and amateur drivers. So even if you are, well, an amateur with lots of money, of course, unfortunately, money's still also in the picture, you can also drive at Le Mans. So that's also crazy. And this year's Pro-Am winner was AO
Oh, okay. Spike, yeah.
But Louis Delatraz drove that car. His dad also won at Le Mans. So again, we also, just like in Formula One, we see fathers, sons driving, winning together. There was even a team of the Groves, father and son, driving in the car together at this Le Mans.
I think, I might be wrong, I think Kevin Magnussen did it with his dad last year as well. Whose name is eluding me for some. Jan Magnussen, obviously. Jan Magnussen. Yeah, they raced together. And Kevin Magnussen was back in the BMW this year. So he's obviously got the bug for it now that he's been released from Haas. Formula One's not going to be his thing. It's straight into a top team in World Endurance. So yeah, it's great. And when you said about these Pro-Am or Am drivers, the name that springs to my mind straight away is Patrick Dempsey, because a lot of people know him from acting, and then suddenly he shows up and he goes, "Oh, I want to be a racing driver," and everyone goes, "Yeah, okay," and he's done Le Mans, and it's like, he might be a Le Mans winner, but I can't remember. Le Mans class winner.
The class
I have to look that one.
I always forget the class winners because there's so much more attention for the hypercar overall winners. Unfortunately, again,
it's just the way it is. Unfortunately, isn't it? That overall win and that. The biggest, the most expenditure goes into those cars. The top drivers do want to win outright, so it does get the most highlight. Pretty right, I think gets that highlight put on it. I always think that the racing is better behind, so I think if they can sort that out, they can get even picture on picture, as we discussed earlier. If they can sort that out, then I think it's golden. I think everything else across the weekend, the fun of Le Mans was just phenomenal. I've got a friend who's out. I haven't checked in with him, but James, if you're listening, I will be checking in. I will be listening, because I said to him already, I was like, right, I need to push to get a ticket for next year. I'll accidentally do the whole, is it our wedding anniversary? Oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry. Well, I bought my ticket now. You can come with us if you want. Oh, you don't want to? Oh, okay, that's fine. She's hopefully, I think she's gone out for the night. And she doesn't listen, so it's fine. I'm not going to get in trouble. But Amber, I think we'll wrap up there on our 24 hours review. So I'll share all of your social links as I did last week, where people can find you. Have you started your podcast yet?
Not yet, but we are talking about it. We will be going to the 24 hours of Spa, and that will be the first time we meet each other in person. So fantastic. We will have to discuss podcasts.
Excellent. Yes, I want to hear all about that. So as soon as you launch, because I know you will. As soon as you launch, let me know. I'll share all the links to my 12 people.
I will.
All the various, and hopefully I'll get you back on. You won't be too busy with your own podcast. We'll get you back on here at some point. We'll cover some other racing that we can get you interested in. Amber, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for covering the Le Mans 24 hours with myself.
Yeah, thank you again for having me and picking me up from threads again. So
ambushing you.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, with that, if anyone's listening, think it, because people have done this already. People have said like, oh, I really love listening in. And Louis, who's been on a couple of times now, said, I really want to join, but I don't think I'll be knowledgeable enough. And I'm like, no, stop. Come on and talk. If there's something you're passionate about, message me. I've got my email address. Everything is there. Come and find me. Come and tell me, Perry, you idiot, you haven't covered E1 powerboats. Someone's already messaged about them. E1 power. I want to come on and talk about E1 powerboats. Message me and we'll do it. We'll talk about E1 powerboats. So yeah, get in my DMs.
Get in the DM. Slide in the DM. No.
So I've already said I'm going to postpone my wedding anniversary and slide in my DMs. This isn't going very well. Amber, I'm going to go before I end up divorced.
Yes.
Amber, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. And this has been the Motorsport Review. Thank you.